try this thing. Okay. Here, the Discord chat. All right, everyone, we're live. Welcome back. This is a late night show, actually. You know, we've been usually doing afternoon, but you know what? This is a throwback from last year. This is a wonderful, wonderful talk. Been waiting for this for a long time. So ones that are trying to expand their business, we have a special guest star in the building. And we have the guest star. Who do we have with us today?
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Anthony Chansamuth. I'm based here in Sydney, Australia. This is the reason why we're doing a late night session, because I'm on the other side of the world and I'm just waking up over here. But my background is I'm a content strategist, and I run a business called Simple Creative Marketing. And we specialize in developing customer stories for our clients and helping them to sell more, which is why I think this is a great opportunity to talk about this with Doc and the rest of you.
Awesome. So to get things started, remember in the chat, let us know what you're going to be building. It's late night, so if you're working on your side hustle, wherever you are in the world, let us know where you're calling in from and what you're working on. And before we get started, we're going to have a quick intro with this new background. So come with me. Okay, good times. This is the first time we were able to do that with StreamYard. I'm very happy.
That's awesome. I got to learn that from you.
It was good. I was like, I didn't know if it was going to happen. So this is good. We're starting off on the right track. So, Anthony, tell me a little bit about yourself. And yeah, you were talking about a little bit, but for the audience just coming to know you, tell me a little bit about yourself and everything, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started off, if we go back 7 years ago, I was actually working in corporate. I had a corporate job, working as a project manager. And then I left. Basically, long story short, I had a health scare, ended up with a 5-hour brain surgery, and then really asked myself, what am I doing with my life? And do I really want to be just working for the man or the woman and just like making money? Like, is that what it's all about? And at the same time, my parents were getting older. And so I started to really evaluate, what I want to do and is the work I'm doing meaningful? All right. So that led me to then moving to Toronto, Canada. I lived there for a couple of years, and I worked as a project manager over there. GFC hit. I lost my job at the company and then was forced. This is funny because I was stuck in Canada with a visa, but I wasn't allowed to work for anyone else, right? So the only solution I had or recommended to me by a housemate was, hey, why don't you, you've been teaching salsa on the weekends as a volunteer. Why don't you do that from our living room? And so that's what I did. At the time, there was a new website getting popular called meetup.com. I'm sure you're well familiar with what that is. And so I listed on there as, beginner salsa Toronto. And I didn't have any SEO knowledge or anything like this at the time, but I did that, started the group. Within 2 weeks, I had 200 new members. And then the following week after that, I did my first pay what you can session out of my living room. And that led into the first venture, if you will, as an entrepreneur. Okay. At the same time, I was also learning social media marketing. So I was learning all about Twitter and Facebook, and learning how to use that to help a nonprofit that I was volunteering with at the time. And we actually the challenge I had was 4 months to fill a venue with 200 people, okay, through social media, right? And keep in mind, I had never done this before. But you learn through the fire. And as you guys would know, as you're building something new, the best way to learn is to do it and make mistakes and develop and improve. So that led me to, we actually, mission accomplished. We did achieve that. That went really well. That led to me then becoming a social media consultant and working with brands and small businesses to develop their social media strategies. And then I moved from that writing because I've been blogging since 2009. And then combining all these skills and things I was learning, I really worked out that the most important thing when it comes to business is actually showing and demonstrating that you can deliver on whatever it is that you're promising to your clients and customers, right? So whether it's a product you're putting out to the market or you have a service that you want to put out there, right? The number one thing in our minds as buyers or potential buyers is can they do what they claim that they can do on their website or in their social media profile, right? And so that's where the skill of copywriting becomes very important, right? Because you need to be able to convey these are the processes that we have in place, the systems that we've developed, these are the results we've generated, okay? And here's the things that we can do to, I guess, minimize your risk in investing in us, right? Because one of the things when it comes to sales, as you would know well, Doc, is the buyer is always looking at what is the risk involved in working with this person or this company or this product, right? And so, typically it's financial, but also there's more than that. There's time, there's energy, there's other things as well. So all that has now led me down to 2020. I was working full-time as a marketing manager for a company, a small, well, I'd say a small business, still there are 15 staff. And then the pandemic hit, and I was told basically my role disappeared overnight. And so I had to think of a way to utilize my skills and essentially offer a service outside of that business, and really leverage all the branding that I had built over the years, and my profile. And what that led me to was case studies, right? And this conversation here, because one of the things that had really worked well for that company I was working for, and some other clients, has been generating really strong and compelling stories about their client or the work that they've done for their client in many ways. It's helped them with developing trust with potential buyers. It's helped them with sales meetings and sales appointments and getting people to sign the deal. It's also helped with attraction and lead generation, through their blog, through their social media presentations that they're doing out there. So what they would do is include some of these stories, and then naturally what happens is they would get people interested in learning more. It's like, well, you just told me about this story about how you helped XYZ company do this thing. I'd like to know more about that, right? And that really opens a door for conversations that would lead to collaborations. Okay.
Oh, no, that's really good. That's really good. Actually, it makes a lot of sense what you were talking about. And I'm sorry to hear about all this. And going through all of that, especially with what's going on with COVID. But I think whereas we're going with case studies, I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people, because in the chat I'm seeing such as like Erica and others that they're really talented. They're looking for that breakthrough, how they can start getting the right clientele that they're looking for. And correct me if I'm wrong, having that kind of case study that documents how you change someone's business or their life, that leads them to the right opportunities. Is that correct? 100%,
Doc. And as much as we're in the world of growth hacking and growth marketing and these sort of buzzwords that are going around, it's, if you ask most small businesses, how do they get leads and referrals? By far the biggest response is going to be word of mouth. Somebody told their friend, told their buddy about what we do, and that's how we generated a sale, or we got someone interested in what we do. Okay, and there will be marketers out there who will swear by, that's a really terrible strategy. You can't rely on word of mouth to grow a business. I call BS on that, because there are, thousands of businesses out there today doing really well that really worked on, things that you might have, that are called ambassador programs, which is basically referral, right? Affiliate programs, that's referral, right? It's all, the underlying structure to all of that is trust. How can we convey trust, and how can we communicate trust through people who have experienced what we've got to offer? Right now, if you're someone like Erica or whoever is talking about, I've got all these skills, I've got these amazing gifts I want to put out there into the world, and get paid well for that, then the key element is, can you quickly develop trust with people who want what you've got to offer? Right. And you can do, I'll present two challenges that I see a lot of small businesses struggling with. One is they get onto the content treadmill. And I know, Doc, you've been through this and I've been through this, where it's like, I'm pumping out content all the time, live streams, Facebook ads, blog posts, all of it. Right. And then the question I always ask when people jump on a call with me is, well, how much of that is actually leading? How many leads did you get last week from that? how many sales have you converted that's come from your content over the last 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, right? That's question number one. So we get, and the challenge number one is getting caught on this content treadmill, right? Because the message seems to be, hey, I'll follow Gary Vee, and Gary Vee is doing 20 pieces of content per day across 10 different channels. Now keep in mind, guys, Gary Vee and girls, Gary Vee has a team of 30 or even 100 marketers working for him. It's not him just doing all the work, right? He's got an engine, okay? And I know Doc does a fantastic job of sharing all these tools that can help you, repurpose things and do all these other things as well. But I put to you that, that can be a trap, right? If you just get caught in a content treadmill. The question at the end of the day is, you can invest in it, but does it bring you the return that you're looking for, okay? Then the second challenge I see with small business in general is what I already talked about, is trust. Okay, are you communicating effectively that you can deliver a result, and not just the result you did for yourself? So I see a lot of coaches going out there and they're going, yeah, I lost 20 kilos because I followed this protocol and I fasted, I didn't eat for 6 weeks and these sort of things. And then you go, but have you been able to do that with 3 other clients, right? Have you been able to reproduce the result? Right, and if you're, building whether it's a software tool or whatever you're doing, does your product or your service, can you demonstrate that you've been able to repeat the result for multiple clients, right? And this is where case studies come into it.
Real quick, before you go into the case studies, some people came in a little bit late, Anthony. They want to know, talk about your business. Could you repeat that for a second before you go into case studies?
Yeah. So basically, I run a content agency. We produce content that helps small businesses to generate leads and sales strategically, right? So we tend to, the way I like to frame it is, we help businesses to get leads and sales with less content, right? So that's actually the focus. And one of the key products or services we offer is a case study, a done-for-you case study service, where we produce the case studies for our clients.
And by the way, too, before you go on, you've got someone on Periscope talking about, his name's AJ. He's talking about Anthony is everywhere. Knowledge nuggets from him. This guy is great. Glad that you picked him up. Good guy. So you got fans coming all over the place. I love it. Love it.
I've seen AJ's, look, yep, full respect, and thank you so much.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So that makes a lot of sense. So now that you talked about your business being very specific with case studies as well. So tell me a little bit more about, by the way, before we get started, if anyone has a question or they're saying, well, that sounds great, Anthony's saying this, but I don't really see how that could align in my business, feel free to let us know what you're trying to do, what skill you have that you're trying to connect the dots on. This is for you. The ones that are watching live, you get the opportunity to talk to Anthony. He gets to talk you through how the case study could work for you in your niche. So remember, in the chat, wherever you're watching right now, or if you're watching on replay, let us know. But he's here right now. Take advantage of it. So Anthony, could you talk about now going into case studies and why that's so powerful? Or I didn't want to go off on a detour, but where you were going with case studies, it would be great to hear.
Sure, man. I urge anyone listening to and watching this at the moment, tell us what you're building. Like, what is it? Is it a SaaS product? Is it a service? Whatever it is, I'm curious to know. And I can give examples, and I will, of the different types of businesses that I've worked with where the case studies have proven to work, right? Like and I've gone everywhere from e-commerce through to SaaS, professional services. I think Doc mentioned that there's some people in the legal world who might be listening. I've worked with accounting in the last 5 years. I've worked with different accountants and bookkeepers. So, and that's, as you all would know, that's a huge trust industry. People who, get an accountant or a bookkeeper typically hold on to them for a long time. Like you're not jumping around every 5 seconds like you might with a social media app, right? Like it's a bit different. So these are industries that, the reason why it's really immersed in that world is because in those industries, it's actually like they cannot go and just be over the top salesy. They have to actually produce evidence because there are some legal ramifications behind what they're saying in their marketing, right? If you say anything and I'm curious what you think about this from a branding perspective, Doc. But if you're, once you if you're in an industry where brand is everything, right? Trust is everything. If you erode that trust in any way, right? If you make any false promises or do anything like this, right, and you've lost the trust, how hard is it to recover that trust from the market or from your peers?
Yeah. So it's everything. If you do that, you're starting in a deficit. You're not even starting from 0. You're starting at a -5 because you have to go all the way back up and you got to go beyond and above like ×3 to even get back on that same level. So it's crucial. It's crucial. By the way, Anthony, Erica's saying in the chat that she learned her LinkedIn event strategy from you. So she's like, this is great. So you're people coming out of the way. Erica's just now telling me this. Also, too, Edmund is saying building frameworks and workflows to help companies build communities. If you could walk me through that. That is coming from Edmund. Edmund's an awesome guy in the ATL. He's doing a great job. And he actually, I really like what Edmund's doing. I believe, Edmund, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a term where it's the chief. I don't know if it's chief community evangelist, or correct me if I'm wrong, Edmund, I apologize, but he's going to be going into that position. He's great at building communities. He also has a podcast called Codeless, and he has a wonderful, wonderful voice, and that's why people pay him to just hear that smooth voice. So he's doing a lot, and now he's transitioning into the world of, into building communities. So if you could talk about that, that would be wonderful too.
Dude, that's huge. And I've actually worked with a community builder. So there's a community called The Pack. I think the website's jointhepack.co. I don't know, but I can share that with you guys later. But Edmund, I respect what you do. And this is a huge industry to be in, right? So if you have community building skills, what's happening right now is there's an intersection between marketing and community. And a lot of companies are actually creating roles for people to actually, help them do both. Right? Because they realize actually it's not enough just to promote what we do. The other part of it is we actually want to have evangelists. We actually want to have ambassadors. We want the community, our members, to be, connecting and collaborating, right? Because there's power in that.
I got it. So I apologize, Edmund. It is Chief Community Officer.
Yeah.
Chief Community Officer. So now people coming out of the wood. Okay. So now people are question. So briefly, Anthony, could you talk about that the case studies, how Edmund could do that if he was pursuing that role, or how that could work? Yeah.
Okay. Now, can I share my screen, Edmund, Doc?
Yeah. What I want you to do is click that share button, and then it's going to give you a cue that you can now share your screen, and then I'm going to be you should be able to queue up and everything like that right now. Yep. Right. I'm going to do that. There you go.
Boom. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through Edmund and Erica. Thanks, Erica is awesome. She's awesome too. And everyone listening, I'll walk you through my framework for creating case studies. And this is the exact framework we use with our clients, okay? So essentially what you want to start off with is always come at it with a strategic mind. So you start with the end in mind, and we always start off with the buyer persona or the audience we're trying to communicate to. Okay, so this is branding 101, and I'm sure Doc's got some amazing guides around how to do this. But you start with who's the avatar, whether it's a business or it's a human being. All right, and you go, okay, let's talk about what their pain points are, identifying. So you do what's called an empathy map, or really listing out what their pain points are and challenges that you help solve. Okay, so Edmund, for you might be, you help businesses to develop, really strong communities that eventually lead to sales or product or whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, okay, or impact, right? So start with that, and then think about, okay, look at the clients that you've worked with already, or the companies that you've worked with, and really narrow in onto the result, okay? So what result have I been able to produce? And so step one in the framework is we want to have a punchy headline. And now this is copywriting 101, right? So for someone to read your case study, the headline needs to grab them straight away. Okay, so we want to go, okay, this is the result that we were able to create for XYZ client, right? So start there, right? So literally brainstorm, and Edmund's watching this. I'd ask you to put in chat right now, give us 2 or 3 results you've been able to accomplish as in your work as a chief community officer, right? What have you been able to do? Have you been able to build an email list? Have you been able to increase the engagement rate of that community? Have you been able to generate leads or sales for the company that the community is for, if that's what the intention was for that particular company, right? So really get like clear on what that is. Okay. Next thing we want to do is go into profiling the customer, right? So we then give our customer some love, right? Our client, we give them, a couple of maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. So we talk about who they are, right? And I'm going to ask Doc, why do you think this is important to profile the customer at this stage in the process?
Yeah, I mean, to have our target customer, right?
Yeah.
Right on. I mean, I think it just, when you have that, it goes so far, because now they can self-identify and they can feel like they resonate with that. And so if you're targeting and you're speaking their language, you're identifying with profile, all of those things, it's so much more impactful. And it's that filtering. I know Edmund's always talking about his filtering, and he has tons of different filters, his different communities, his podcasts, all those things. So now it allows your words to jump off the page and target the right person that you want to impact.
100%. Okay. And this is why that's why before we even got into the 7 Ps, we started with who's the avatar? Who are we trying to talk to? Because in step 2, you're going to call out the avatar. You're going to say, I've worked with a company just like yours. Okay. Here's the brand. Here's the logo. Here's, the job title of the person involved. For example, if you were trying to reach CFOs, right, in Fortune 500 companies, right? In the profile, you want to highlight that. You say, I've worked with XYZ person from this Fortune 500 company, and they're a CFO. Okay, so you basically clarify straight away, this is who I work with, right? And so that's the profile. We then move into the statement, which is the 3rd P. Okay, and here we're getting clear on what were the challenges that the company or the person came in with when they started to engage with you. Okay, so and this is where we want to get a bit granular in this process, where we state the main problem. Okay, so for example, I just did one for an e-commerce accountant, and for them, the client came in. The client said to me, the problem wasn't that they sucked at math or were terrible with numbers, right? Which is typically why people get accountants or bookkeepers. But they said, I'm actually really good at numbers. The problem was I didn't know how to scale my business, and I needed someone to guide me through that process financially, right? And so then, you narrow in, okay, well, this is $1 million company. They already have, financial smarts. What they're actually wanting is someone who has the capability and understanding and experience to help them scale. Okay. And so that's what, yes.
So Anthony, we got 2 things. First of all, I had to say this is a big announcement. We got 2 things. First of all, we've been missing Nyota in the house, and my sound effects aren't here right now. So Nyota, there's a huge round of applause. If you're in the YouTube community and everything, there, if I have my my sound effects are usually on point. So Nyota, being here late night. I know you're usually in bed early, so showing up on the show this late. First of all, Nyota was one of the first fans of the live streams. So for her to be here, thank you so much for being here. The second part is, I will go back to what we were talking about, but also we've got ones all over the place. So Nyota, thank you so much for being here. I saw your email. I just haven't gotten here yet. I saw it earlier today, but listen, you're staying out here. We got to catch up. Also, Felipe is in the house too. By the way, Edmund is saying that he has grown membership traffic, enhancing customer experience, improving customer, customer experience, increasing brand leverage. I'm going to drop that in the chat. And the biggest result is providing clarity to clients to put a sustainable communication strategy in place. That's what he's got. Just
okay. That's awesome. I want a big thumbs up to Nyota for joining us as well. And definitely, Edmund, I like that. I'd work with you a bit more around what did that mean to the business. All right. So how did the company measure that as a success? Okay. There's got to be some metrics tied to that, what you've done. And they're going to go, okay, well, we measured it by there's key metrics that companies always have KPIs. So what was the KPI they were tracking? Right. And you help them to track.
And Anthony, for some reason, could you reshare that page again? It's
oh yeah, man. So where is it?
It looks like it's we got to get the accent right there. Thanks for the shout out. Of course, Nyota. No, it's wonderful to see you. Of course, of course. One of it. Listen, she's part of the Build It.
Yep.
She's part of the Build It community, and actually, she's one of the founder members. So listen, anytime you're in the chat, of course, I had to bring you up. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, now we'll continue. Sound effects coming next week.
Love it.
They're coming back.
We're gonna make our own sound effects. All right, so yeah, now we're in the key challenges that the client was having. And then we go into step 4 is the process. And this is where you really showcase your expertise. And now you're breaking down, here are the steps that I took or we took to actually solve the problem. Okay. And a common question that comes up here, Doc, is, well, how much should I give away? Because I don't want to give away everything. The Colonel's secret sauce here, right? And for me, my take on this is give as much as you can without giving it all away. And the reason is, right, you're being typically when people are reading and evaluating, a product or a service, they're also looking at other alternatives. They're looking at, 3 or 4 or 5 vendors at the same time, and they're going, which is the better one for me? And the one that is willing to share more, right, in the interest of building trust, okay, typically will win out. Right? If someone feels, think about it, if you met someone on the street and you just felt like they were hiding stuff from you the whole time you had a conversation with them or with a party, that immediately you pull away and you go, well, I don't feel like they're going to give me, if they're not willing to give me stuff from our immediate interaction, what's going to make them share with me further downstream, right? Why would I go on a second date if the first date sucked, right? And so, there is, okay, you got to make that call on how much you can give away, but I advocate as much as you can. And you don't need to give like the entire thing. What you want to give away is your methodology. Okay, here are the steps I take my clients through. Here are typically what happens when someone, takes up a trial of our software and they're on it for 30 days or 7 days. This is typically what happens in the journey. Okay, and this is the result that was produced. Okay, and so that's the breakdown. And this is where you showcase your expertise. That's number 4 is process. Number 5 is payoff. Okay, and now we're coming back to what we did with step 1, which is to now elaborate on the headline. Okay, the headline talked about a key metric or outcome that was achieved. In step 5, we're now breaking that down into, well, let's revisit what that result was, but also how did that actually impact the client's business, their life? If you're talking about an individual, how did it help them outside of work? All right. So some of the stories that I share or what I help my clients share is, to give you an example, there was one client that worked with me. They had a program or a coaching program. It's like 6 months long, and they help their clients to basically build systems so they could step out of their business. Right. That was the whole point of the program. Now, when I interviewed their client, I asked her, I said, this is great. You were able to step out of the business. Now, how did that actually impact your life? And she said, well, and she had tears coming out down her eyes. And she said, well, that actually meant I could get my Sundays back with my son. Right. Because before that, Sundays was admin day, and I just spent all the time doing admin, and she wasn't connecting with her son. Right. And her son's like 4 years old or something. I can't remember the specifics, but can you see how powerful that is when you go from this is a business outcome, but there's an actual human impact, right? So I know, the brand master. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I love it. I think it's just you're being a human and you're explaining how it's impacting their entire life, and you're adding weight. So many people can just have straight stats, but if you have a story. Even when you told me that story, I can remember key parts of it. And now I'm being more impactful when I tell other people, but also it sticks in my mind when I'm thinking about what you can do for me. So I mean, I love it. I love it. And the thing is, Anthony, I remember you were saying being more specific with Edmund. To Edmund, I know your group and what you do. You're making a lot of impact. So I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, he's working with other communities, but he has built multiple communities himself. Is it wrong to identify and do a case study on how you've grown your own community if that's what you're going to go for another position for? Is that a problem?
Not at all. That's actually something I'm doing with someone at the moment. So absolutely, you can do that, Edmund. I think that's a really good way. Why not use a case study to showcase what you've been able to achieve within your own career, and use that as a selling point for future opportunities, right? What I would do to sort of add weight to that case study would be to interview people within your communities that you've built, right? And ask them, get 2 or 3 quotes, if you will, or testimonials from them to say, because of Edmund's community, XYZ, whatever the community is called, this is how it impacted my life or my business, right? And then you can actually share the impact that you've been able to create through the words of those within your community. And that's one of the most powerful things, right? So a key element of this process is, or a key philosophy is, make your clients or your customers or community members, make them the stars of your show, right? And Doc does this really well. This is why he has a live stream and he has really cool people on them all the time. But this is what it's about. And this is why you have a podcast, Edmund. You have people from your community or, peers come on, right? You're featuring them. You're highlighting who they are and what they do and the impact they're making, right? This is what you're doing in a case study as well, right? It's just a different format. Yeah. And that ties to point number 6. Thanks for the question. Point number 6 is praise. Okay. So here's where we're actually asking the client that we're interviewing. We say, okay, if you were to share the work that we've done and how we've been able to help you with a mate or a buddy, over a drink, in a casual setting, what would you say? All right. And you get it in their words. One of the, mistakes I see some businesses do is they get a copywriter or they write it themselves, and it's very technical and very jargony. And then you're reading the testimonial and you go, no human speaks like that. Like, what human do you know sits there and talks about, budget forecasts, P&L, blah, 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 all these things, right? Most likely when you're telling a close buddy, you straight to the point, this is how this business helped me, right? Or this person helped me, right? So you get the testimonial. In the example that Doc just shared now with Edmund, like I said, you can actually get some testimonials from your community members that you've helped, and that would be really strong here, right? And then we move into the last step is what I call the proposal. We want to propose the next step, okay? So once someone's read through the entire case study, the case study can also have video and media embedded into it, and I've done some of that work as well. But at the end, what we want to have is, okay, what's the next step from here, right? So I'm reading Edmund's case study about how he's built these amazing communities. I'm reading the examples of the members and what they've shared, the impact it's had on their life. Then the last step is, okay, what I'm interested. I love what you're doing, Edmund. How do I engage with you? What's my next step, right? So then here's where you say, okay, jump on a call with me or download my guide, go, watch my webinar, whatever it is that your next step is. And that's how we wrap up the 7 Ps, okay?
Love it, love it, love it. Edmund is saying so correct. A lot of testimonials sound so robotic. So he's loving this. Real quick too, I love this. And also too, we have a gift for ones that are going to be watching this as well. Does this align with what you're talking about, the 7 Ps and what they're going to be getting to, Anthony?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, so we have, we can stop sharing this. So let me just close that for a sec. All right, so we have I've created a page for anyone who's interested in diving more into creating your own case studies and just understanding the process better. So if you just head over to simplecreativemarketing.com/doc, D-O-C, then you'll get, you can download my free case study guide, and included in that are email templates that we use to send to our clients as well, to get them on board, to invite them to participate. Because one of the questions I get commonly is, how do I actually ask my client to participate in a case study? And how do I, here's the thing, right? It's very important. If you're doing a client case study or customer success story, you can't do it without the involvement of the customer. And you can't publish their name, their brand, their websites and things like that without them knowing that you're doing it, right? You can get into legal complications with some of that. So I'm always permission first, and we do permission-based marketing. So it's almost, let's ask the client, get an okay. If yes, let's move on, right?
2 things I would like to say. Number 1, Anthony he sent me the template, and I was like, I got to really put in my own words and stuff. I literally just copied and pasted and changed like, hey, and I put their first name and I sent it, and it worked perfectly. I was like, it looked like magic. It was probably the most simple swipe file I've ever seen. And like the person, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. The client's like, I love this. I can't wait for this. And I was like, I'm done. So it was too easy. I thought it would be too easy. So what he's saying, it really does work. And all of the case study for what we're doing and working together. Yeah, we can't wait to talk about that as well soon. Oh, also too, a couple people in the community. Nyota's talking about that Erica's great in the community. First of all, you're all great. Nyota, don't try to be humble. Nyota just had a TED Talk earlier last year. So yeah, Nyota's just killing it over there. We got to talk about it. Did you move already? Are you still in the DMV? Let me know. Erica's doing great with her community with creators. We're still working on that. She says she has to work on her community. We got to talk about that. And also, Edmund, we're coming back. Let me know what's going on with you as well, because you've got some great testimonials, and I can't wait to hear about this. We've got Invest Addicts asked a question real quick. Hold on one second. We got a couple. Okay, so first of all, what do you think about a website called Company Value? Have you heard about that, Anthony? He's saying the slogan is "Stop before you go out. Check to see if your company aligns with your values." Have you heard about that company before?
I have not heard of that company. What would you like me to know? Answer about that? Like what's interesting to you about that particular company?
Yeah. So Invest Addicts, let us know. Then have research posts. I'm gonna need more details, my friend. Let me know what we're going. By the way, Nyota, you're in Tulsa. Okay, we gotta talk. Hopefully you're safe there. I don't know the temp there. Is it cold? I don't know. The Midwest, I do not know. Technically, is Oklahoma Midwest? I got to think about this. I am showing that my geography skills are quite bad. We're going to move on. Anthony, tell me also too, and can we talk about, oh no, I would create it. I'm so. Oh, okay. Okay. So Invest Addicts, he's saying creating that type. Okay. Now we got it. I think you go ahead, Anthony. I've got my thoughts, but what do you think about that? So I can repeat it again. So it would be
yes, please,
company. Say it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could repeat the value prop. So what does the company do?
I think the company. So the company. I guess a research company. I'm losing it. I'm sorry. I'm seeing multiple posts here. I think it would be a website called Company Value, and it would help you check to see if your company aligns with your values. So I think the value prop is you aligning with your values, and it's almost like an audit or checking in that alignment. I think that's what he means. Okay.
I think that has a potential. There is, I think, if you're familiar with B Corp or B Corporation, they do a similar thing. They basically work with companies that are wanting to create impact and profit, what they call the triple bottom line, and they have an auditing system that companies pay for and work through. It takes 6 months to a year to complete the process, so it's quite arduous, but by the end of it, you get a rating and a score, and then you're valued as a B Corp, right? And I know in the US, it actually is, B Corp is actually a status that you can get. It's a bit different here in Australia. But what you're suggesting there with company values is a similar type of process. And I can see there is a value in there. I'd want to get very specific as to who would want to buy that service, and then put it out, like maybe create a landing page, using one of the tools that Doc recommends. Simple landing page, or even just a Google Doc or a Notion page explaining the value prop, who's it for, what problem are you solving, okay, and then putting it out in front of 20 people that fit that profile, or 20 companies that fit that profile, and have conversations with them to understand, right, is this really a pain point that they're going to pay for to help solve?
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense. I agree. I honestly, if anyone has seen, if anyone has heard of the company Fix My Churn or anything like that, or done with Val, literally some of her sales pages are Google Docs. Like, I mean, if you look at that, because it's about the connection with the people, it's cutting out all the flares and all those things. If you are identifying and finding that value, why someone needs you, like it doesn't matter. You could have the best looking website. It doesn't matter. Make it a Notion. And we're doing a case study coming out later, I think in end of April. Our highest conversions come from just using Notion pages. Now, I've done tons of years of WordPress, Webflow, everything you name it. Notion pages, because it's so clear and it's just that is the highest converting that we've had. So just something to keep in mind.
That's a really great tip, Doc. And I think we can get so caught up in making it look professional and all these sort of things. But really is the message clear, right? Is it clear what you're communicating? Is the value you're communicating clear? And this is why, a common question I get is testimonial versus case study, which is better, right? And I actually say you need both. The problem with case studies, as someone highlighted earlier, is you can really manipulate those. Like anyone can write words on a page, right? And there's no way to vet if that's true, right? But when you combine it with an in-depth case study following the 7 Ps, what happens now is that you're not only showing what the client has said in a paragraph, you're also articulating these are the steps that were taken to achieve the outcome, right? And so that, and if you have, whether it's software or whatever it may be. I'm working with an SEO agency, one of my clients at the moment. And one thing we're doing with him and his client is, showing actual visuals. Like we're taking images from Google Analytics, the before and after image of the, he did some SEO work over 6 months. The site went from page 10 to page 1. And here's the proof, right? Visually, right? So it's almost like the personal trainer before and after shots on Instagram. Right, so we can see this person actually lost weight, or this person gained a ton of body bulk. Right, in business, similar things we can show through our metrics and our analytics. We can show there's been transformation.
Good times, I love it. Real quick, we've got AJ's asking the question: how could I implement case studies into my product review video casts?
So. Oh, really? That's a great question. I love it. So one of the things I advocate with case studies, so once you've done a few case studies, when you're doing a video cast, you can actually present on the screen, like here's an example, or a client that I've worked with previously, right? You can actually present that and talk about that story. You can keep it under 30 seconds or a minute when you're presenting it on the video cast. But I've done that a lot. I used to do that a lot on LinkedIn. So what I did was I used to give people LinkedIn profile reviews, right? So as a copywriter, one of the things I would look at is how do you optimize your LinkedIn profile, to reach your recruiter or your client, whatever you're trying to do. And so I would record quick 3-minute Loom videos of me just breaking down, here's how I would fix your profile. And then I would talk about in the profile, show examples of other profiles that I've helped optimize, right? And then that way, what I'm doing is I'm helping them by adding value. But secondly, I'm also demonstrating that I've done this before with other clients that are similar to them, right? So that's the way you can do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And AJ, let us know in the chat if that makes sense. Now, Anthony, we didn't go over this, actually. We didn't talk about this, but I was just thinking about this because a lot of times people will be, or this is what I'm thinking, but I'm seeing it some in the chat in different places. They're like, well, of course he's an expert. He can do this all the time. Like, I'm having trouble. And when I see that in the chat, then I'm like, okay, game on. We're going to do this live to show that you can do this quickly. So if you're okay, I think we should just riff. I have a Notion doc, and we're just going to do this in under 10 minutes. We're going to use the template. We're going to pull it up, and we're going to knock this thing out. And so what we're going to do is real quick. AJ says, I appreciate this, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question. Wonderful question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my screen real quick, Anthony, and you're just going to first pull up your screen so we can see the steps for a moment. Could you do that?
Yep. Let me just bring that up.
And I'm going to screenshot it from you, and then I'm going to, let's see what we got here. And this is really, I always say you work with the best, right? You work with the best, such as Anthony and others. And especially, look, Anthony's no joke. Like, we wouldn't have him on the show if I'm like, I'm not too. What he does works, and it works too good. But remember, if you feel that, hey, wait a minute, I'm not ready yet. What's going on? I don't know. We're going to show you in real time what you can do and all of those things right now. Okay, so I just screenshot it. Let me bring this up. I'm going to put this on a Notion doc, and Anthony's going to coach me through it, and we're going to knock this out in a second and see how you can do it. Now, as I'm doing this live, remember, take the time. I'm giving you time right now. Get out a piece of paper. Get a Word document up. Do something right now. Take notes on your phone, because this is about action. It's not just about watching the show. You know, I'm all about action. Let's go do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, would I do that? Let's see, screen share that thing. Let's see about this. Bam, case study. Let's see if this is going to work. All right, this is my document right here. Okay, hide that so I can have more room. Okay, and you already know how we do this, y'all. By the way, if you're new to this program, you might be like, what's going on? We do this live so you can see how easy it's going to be for you, right? So before we get started, get your stuff. Let's see, Invest Addict saying, I believe that we are in the area where people want to buy from us. Okay, we're going to go and talk about that in a second, Invest Addicts. Okay, we have this. Look, and you see this is that we're not doing the tape is not false. We're going to time it and we're going to knock this thing out. Okay. So the first part is talking about the punchline. Tell me again, Anthony, what is this punchline? What should I be doing?
Okay. Before we go there, let's start with the avatar.
Okay.
Right.
Avatar.
Who are you trying to reach with this case study?
I'm trying to reach, I think, professionals that are already C-level executive. They've already achieved what they want in their own business, and now they're looking to build their own personal brand and almost like that second career. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Great. So write that down. Right. Professional looking to build their second career and / personal brand. Okay.
Looking to build their second career and / brand. Oh,
yep.
Or brand. You know these. There we go. So it doesn't. Notion doesn't freak out and trying to add something. Okay, cool.
Okay, next thing, key challenge. Where are they struggling right now in doing that?
The key challenge, I would say, would be they just feel overwhelmed. They know that they have the knowledge, they have the expertise, but they've always had a team behind them before. They've always worked in a huge company. They're afraid now that they're out on their own. They're not sure how to operate or what to do. So now they're just paralyzed. They've got the skill. They're just paralyzed to execute.
Great. So on your own or on their own, that's one key challenge. So no team behind them. And the second one is just overwhelm. So many options, so many shining objects.
Mm-hmm. Shiny objects.
And would there be a confidence issue there around just maybe self-doubting that what they've been able to achieve?
Yeah, I would say self-doubt that they know that they're an expert. I think they're shy, even though they've done keynotes and they've done things like that before. They're still dealing with, can they do it by themselves? Like, do they have it? So yeah, they're struggling with that.
Okay, so there's a self-belief thing going on. Great, got it. I only know that because I've been through that. So that I can resonate. Okay, so now that's great. Now we've got these two things. Now, third thing is, let's talk about clients. Can you name or think of one client that you've worked with where you've actually solved this problem for them?
Yes. So there's a couple different ones. You know, that's interesting. So a lot of them are, I'm not sure if they would identify themselves like this, though. I think about this because I think about influencers that were, well, you know what? They were past athletes. They were either professionals and now they're trying to transition into their own personal brand, something like that.
Yeah, and that's where the alignment is, right? So even though they may not be exact, you know, in terms of the positioning or what they do, the point you're making here is they've transitioned from one career to another, right? Mm-hmm. And no matter whether you were serving fries at McDonald's and you've now become a top-notch CEO somewhere, like it doesn't matter. The journey is the same, right?
That makes sense.
The skills required to transition are the same. You need to build a brand. You need to understand like these things, okay? Love it. Okay, so now you've identified the client, because we're going to come back to it now. Now you have the client in mind who you've actually supported. Now we go through the 7 Ps. Okay, let's go to the headline. Okay, so thinking about that client, can we give them a name, real or imagined, for now?
Yeah. So let's go with, let's see, who do I have? See, the problem is then people are like, you're talking about me.
Yes. Make it up.
Yeah, we'll just go with John. We'll go with John. I know too many people in the chat. Like, I was going down the list. I'm like, people will be like, why is he telling my story right now? Yeah, let's just go with John. That's fine.
That's right. Well, John, if you're listening and you want to be like, you're okay with talking about you, put your hand up and let us know who you are, because this is free promotion for you. But anyway, so we talk about John. Okay, now what result did you help John create? Let's get specific, and I'd love to hear about a metric. How long did it take for the transition to happen? Or, you know, if they moved into a business and they were selling things, like is there a revenue target they hit? Or was it a confidence target they hit?
So there's two things. What happened was they had always sold physical goods, and now they wanted to start having a course or productize something where they could scale, and they weren't having margins. So from there, we looked at the expertise, what they could do with their students or what they've done with their physical business. And now we created a beginner's course that would help their target demographic. Now they stayed in the same industry, but now it was out on their own name, and they were able to have 1,400 signups for their beginner's course, and then they were able to have a sellout seminar on Zoom. So yeah, and now they're going to go into membership after that.
And how long did they work with you to achieve that result?
So that one, they had worked with me for a year to get them to the point of, first it was a lot of brand building, and then launching their course, it was about 3 months. So it was 1 quarter for the course, and then after the course, it was reassessing it because it was around the holidays, and then relaunching as a summit or a workshop online. Yeah.
So 12 months ago, was the business looking that they didn't have a course? So was it the business? Was there a pivot in the last 12 months?
Yeah, the pivot was basically, it was only physical goods and only one type of item. And then from there, we were able to break down what was the most profitable physical goods, make those only starter kits. So now you're making more money off of those. That would stay with the business. Now building your own personal brand, you're already talking about this. Now let's talk about your experience helping build that beginner's guide. And now they get an intimate workshop based around you and how you teach, and then going that way with their personal brand.
Great. So there's two metrics that I'm sort of tracking here. One is pivoting the product shifting the focus of the product to become more profitable. Okay, so that's one thing we can talk about. But secondly, which is more important to your avatar, is actually transitioning now into a personal brand and launching a successful course, right? Because I think that's very compelling. So you said if the headline now was, you know, how John went from X, wherever he was before, from selling products to selling, to 1,400 signups of his first course, in 3 months, right? Or 12 months, if you want to take the whole duration, that's compelling. Okay. And I'm okay with it being 12 months because let's be real, it took time to build the audience, right? And I'd prefer that you're honest with that rather than say, it's sexy to say 3 months, but let's be real. Anyone coming to you and with the assumption that it's going to happen in 3 months and they have zero brand, ain't going to happen, right? So this is important, yeah? Yeah. And then if they're willing to talk about a revenue figure, you can put in there, how much that was worth to them, or if it meant that they were able to quit their day job, or if they meant they were able to, even if it's not the actual revenue figure, you can say, their income went from, 0 to 2x or 3x, within that 12 months, right? So I recently did a case study where it was they were able to go from full-time working at an agency to then launching their agency and working full-time in their business in 12 months. All right. And that's a compelling story. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now we've got the headline. Now we can tweak this and we can copyright it, but we're going to, in the interest of time, we have the headline. We're going to move on to the next P, right, which is the problems, right? Or the profile of the customer. Tell me about John's business. Okay. Now you can be imaginary or real here. So give me just a few bullet points about the business. What do they do? Who does the course help? Right?
Yeah. So the business was dealing with more, how can I say it? Industrial. You know what? Eric will be all right with this. So basically going more with just selling supplies for recreation in a hobby to now the course was breaking away and understanding how you could leverage your ideas and then use that as inspiration for a hobby. So one was transactional, one was just the supplies for the hobby. The other one was critical thinking about how can you be creative and make what you want. So one was more of an elevation of the hobby into a practitioner, or taking your hobby more serious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would something like from hobbyist to full-time practitioner. That's great, right? Before we put problem, the one before that is profile. Okay, so in profile, you can talk about just 1 or 2 sentences about the business as it is today, right? What is the business? Who does it serve? You talk like they sell courses. Great. Okay, so John or Erica is an online course creator who helps XYZ people to achieve Y, whatever it is, right? And here
I'm going to say course creator to help his audience achieve. I was going to say achieve clarity to what they want to build, or achieve. Great. Is that too generic?
Does it go from clarity to launch, or is it just the clarity piece?
It's clarity to launch, because the course. Well, I'll put it. Let me back up. The course is just to get clarity.
Okay, that's
then
fine.
He moved into having the workshop was into the launch portion.
Great. So you can say both. It helps their audience, and we want to. With more time, we would break down who the audience is and actually call them out, right? And then go from confused to clarity and launch, right? So that's really what the work that John does, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And then you put a website, the logo, all those things on the page. That's fine. Then we move to the problem. Okay, so the problem when they came to you, right? So when they said, "Doc, I need some help here. I'm struggling." Okay, and the problem was that they were a hobbyist. They were doing this as a side hustle, and they're trying to work out how do I actually, get more. You tell me, what were the 2 or 3 problems they had when they came to you?
So the problem that they were having when they came to me was they knew that they wanted to expand, and they wanted to stop working so hard. They wanted just to scale pretty much. So having a course would now allow them to go in the right way versus working so hard and selling more with very small margins. So having digitals or doing that, they could scale so much easier.
Great. So bullet point here under problem. So they stop working so hard. So you can contextualize that. How many hours were they working in a business? You could then also talk about, their revenue at that point in time, or their income at that point in time. If they're willing to share that information, right? And then you can talk about that. What's the impact of that time? So if they're spending so much time on their hobby, what's that? How were they feeling emotionally? What did that create for them? What fears and concerns did they have when they went to bed at night? Could they sleep okay? Something that happened to me, I'm sure happened to you when you're building a hustle, is you lose sleep, right? And when you lose sleep, you gain weight. Your body starts breaking down. You have mental fog. You have all these things going on. Your relationships start to fail, right? There are impacts of the hustle, okay? So you can kind of call it out, especially for someone who's transitioning. Remember, going back to the avatar for this case study, if they're moving from a full-time role working at a company and they're getting good pay, and then now wanting to transition across to creating their own personal brand, right? There's going to be the roller coaster, and they're going to go through some huge shocks, right? So you want to call these out, right? In the problem, this is what happened, okay? These are the things that were happening at the time, great? So you've got a problem. We move on to the next P. Are you good so far, Doc?
I'm good. Chat, let me know what's going on. By the way, we got some new people in here. Thank you so much for watching and jumping in here. Yoshi Official. Hey, Yoshi Official. Thank you so much for being here. We're doing good. Let's keep rolling.
Now, I would add let me ask you a question about the problems section here. And people who are potentially going to work with you. I know you've got a coaching program. So what is a common objection to the program?
The common objection is usually they don't think, well, I'll put it this way. 2 things. Number 1, they don't see they're like, it's too expensive. And so then they're just not ready at that stage. So yeah, so we usually hear too expensive, or yeah, that's the only other one.
Okay, so this is an opportunity as you're building a case study to actually to work with the objections, right? So if the objection is too expensive, right, in the problem statement, I want you to quantify, right, what expensive means when you actually don't have, your docs coaching. Okay, so in terms of time, in terms of energy, in terms of impact, right? By doing the things you're doing without working with the coach or the consultant, right, or without a proven system, how much is that really costing you? Okay, I can tell you from my experience, it took me 3 years to turn a profit in my business, right? So literally, I'm working for free for 3 years, right? And so that's huge. When you leave a job and you're earning, some people are 6 figures already in their jobs, and they're leaving, and then the next 3 years they're making less than 5 figures, right? That's a massive hit to the ego. It's a massive hit to your wallet. There's all kinds of stuff going on, right? So here's where you quantify. For John, these were what was happening: time, money, whatever. So I assume John was spending money on courses and programs and education, on workshops and things like that. Quantify all of that, and ask John, "Hey, John, how much were you spending on research and learning all this stuff before you hired me?" Right? Because then guess what? The answer is going to be, literally $100,000, right? Or $50,000, right? Over 3 years. And you go, well, here's your alternative. Invest with me for 6 months. It's only 10 grand, right? So, and you save 3 years of your life. Okay. So now you start to articulate the value in the case study, right?
I love it.
This is powerful for those listening.
Yeah, chat. Let Anthony know about this. By the way, if anyone, I see some people are saying, can I just have a copy of what you're writing? Sure, I'll drop it in the chat. But listen, Anthony already made everything for you. That's why that case study's there. I'm gonna put it back. You can have either one, but listen, he's already built out a full page for the show. So you can see my notes, but he's done all the hard work. I'm just doing this because you're in real time. I want you to take the time to start acting now. So I'm going to drop both of them, but really take the time. If you're serious, Anthony's on the show to show you exactly what he's going to do. And the case study that he's showing, I'm just doing it. This is amateur hour. I'm just doing it right here. But he's already working with one of our clients, and you're going to be seeing the before and after of actually seeing the case study done with one of our clients as well. So yes, I will drop it in the chat right now, but I mean, that's really where the money's at. Yeah. All right. Wait, so by the way, we're at 16. We're not bad, actually.
We're not bad. We'll wrap it up.
But we did a lot of work. So keep going.
Okay. So we're going to go to process. And here is where you're going to basically list out the steps you took to move the client from where they were to where they were able to launch the course successfully. Okay. And this is high level. I don't want you to break down all the 100 of things that you needed to do. Really, what does your process look like? One, they signed up for a course, or they had jumped on a call with you, a discovery call or some kind of session to understand, challenges and what they wanted. Then you take me through your process, Doc. How does it work?
Okay, so what we do is, number one, we set up a discovery call and audit your business where you're going to be. And before we're auditing, we just actually that audit your business. It's just a form that they fill out prior to being on the call, so we don't waste time going through all of those things. Then from there, we present 2 options for the person. When we have the options, it's either if they're really new and they don't have any revenue, we already give them assignments, and either we give them a course, which is the Clarity course, where they can get up to speed to do that, or they can join the Build It community if they're just trying to learn this skill. By the way, that's why there's a join button down below on YouTube. That's actually the Build It community. You can join. The other one is when you're working one-on-one or in group coaching, that is the option where it's actually the idea to online business, and that is the coaching program. So if they're ready for that, they already have at least validated their idea. They have a clear structure of where they want to go. Then they're in a better position to be accepted. And by the way, we still have a process of not everyone gets in. It's got to be a good fit. And we say, okay, how many hours do you have to work on this? how motivated are you? And then it goes into the coaching program. So that's where it goes.
Okay, so let's talk about John for a moment. Which option did John go with of the three?
So John went into we were doing one-on-one, but now we're in group, but he's at that level. So he was at the one-on-one level.
Okay, so then that's what you have in here. You go process. We had a discovery call with John, where John expressed the challenges and goals. Then John went ahead with one-on-one coaching. Like just break down those steps, right? And then we moved to the program or whatever it was. Now tell me about the from concept to launch. All right. So did you help them come up with the idea of doing a course? Was that your involvement, or did they already have that idea?
No, so they just knew that they couldn't keep doing what they were doing, and they're like, we don't know what's happening. And I was like, okay, so let's look at what your audience is looking for. And they kept asking the same exact 7 questions over and over again. I was like, that's your beginner's course. You should be doing the 7 steps to start building this. And so from there, I just had him record himself, and I was like, here's how would you structure this? Just go and like your teacher and record yourself. We'll edit it later. Like, don't worry. Just start working on this. And then afterwards, we chopped it up, put it into a course. We used Podia. And then he put it out to his audience to see what they would, if they wanted it. And then, started to sell right then.
See, so all those things you just told me, that would be the steps in the process. You'd list them out. And then you also mentioned earlier, that there was a few months of audience building before we got to the course launch. So you want to mention that in there as well, right? So, in the process, there was the discovery call, there was the selection of the coaching program or one-on-one coaching. In the coaching, we talked about the best product to address the scalability issues. We decided to go with an online course, great. And then there was some audience building, that was done. And you might sort of elaborate a little bit on what that involved. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you also, keep in mind, whilst you're breaking down your process, you're also teaching the person reading it, like, these are the things you got to have ready. So whether you sign up for our coaching or not, you're going to have to follow these steps for your own, journey, right? So this becomes, it's almost like a framework or a guide for the person reading to go and take action.
Yeah.
So that's a valuable piece in its own, regardless of whether or not they're going to take your next step. Yeah.
And by the way, Anthony, and as everyone's watching this too, if you look at, this is how I usually hack to do certain things. I just record myself doing it because I can't write as much or I forget things. Well, this is recorded. So now if I needed to do this, or you are doing this, record yourself talking to yourself or turn on a camera and have this, because sometimes if you psych yourself out writing this, you might get too caught up. Like, I'm trying to write this perfectly. Just record yourself. It's better to have a rough draft than be stagnant and not do any of these or stop it. So yeah, this is good.
I agree 100%. Let's move on to the next P.
Payoff, right?
Okay. Now tell us about the success. What were the outcomes? We launched the course within 12 months or 3 months to launch the course. From idea to launch, that's a success. 1,200 signups, right?
Yeah. Well, I got to see. It might be 14. I've got to check if it's 1,200 or 14, but I got to check, but it's in between that, but it was good. Yep. It was good.
Okay. At a price point, how much was the course worth? You might link to the course here, because if anyone's interested in the course, they can click through and they can buy the course. That's a referral for your client, which is a nice win as well. So this is, what else? Now come back to the challenges. So if each challenge you've listed, what's the flip of it, right? Because you're talking about a transformation. Okay. So if they were losing sleep, now they're sleeping better. If they were, 10 kilos overweight, now they're 4 kilos overweight, or they're under, right? So whatever it is those challenges were, we want to flip it here in the payoff.
That's awesome. So right here, I'm realigning. So I'm taking the storyline from above and redoing it and going from there. Yep.
And then we go from payoff to, what's the next one?
Let's go praise.
Yep. And here's we get the client's words, right? In their own words, right? If you were to explain, so I'd sit down with John or get on a Zoom call, or I prefer to do it on a Zoom call because I like to speak to the person. But if you worst case scenario, you do it over email or Messenger. You can say, okay, if you were like, how would you describe what we do and how we've actually helped you, right? And then in there, let you put that in a couple of sentences or whatever it may be, right? And you can I try not to guide them too much in this step. I want it to be authentic. So I don't say, make sure you say these things, okay? Because, that's my preference. But I know for some people, you have to do that. Right? So this is why I like to get on a call with them rather than just sending it to them by email. Okay, you've got the praise, and now you've got your proposal or your next step, okay? So what do they do from here? I've read your case study, Doc. I'm loving it. I love that you took John from zero to course launch in 12 months. I'm struggling with that too. What do I do if I want to get started with you?
Yeah, so now you fill out, basically we have a system where you're committing to yourself. So we actually have them sign saying, I am now committed to get to this point. I'm going to take these next steps for the next 6 months. And then they get started. And then we have the kickoff call to get them into group coaching.
Boom. All right. So here's your next step is this, right? So you got to fill in this form or whatever you just told me to do, the contract.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
And up
right?
for kickoff call. Call. Cool. This is good. Look, and by the way, guys, this is okay. So yeah, we went over 10 minutes. Okay, 24. All right.
Okay. Less, but you have to explain everything, but that's okay. I
yeah,
want you guys to learn.
Yeah. But look at this, 24 minutes. So if you're look at what can be accomplished in 24 minutes if you took the time to examine where you can impact someone, what you can impact a space. And in 24 minutes, and by the way, Anthony went through a lot and gave detailed answers. And you might say, well, it's not totally done. Well, it's a daggone good draft that you can use into flesh out. And it's concerted time that now you have the framework. And if this isn't going to be the same for you, right? Everyone watching this, you have your own business, your own thing, but look at what you can do. It's the same formula. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing with your business, take hold that you can use these 7 steps to do this. Done. Anthony, you did that. Now, before we close out, and thank you for being here, and we ran a couple minutes over time. I apologize. Okay. In the chat, let us know, how does this help you? Does this make sense? How you can now have a clear plan to execute to start getting the target audience, the right kind of clients you want for your business? Let us know about that in the chat.
Yeah, for everyone, if I just add, if you're just starting out, or even if you're not starting out, you need to have at least 3 case studies on your website somewhere, right? I would actually have a section, in your menu item that says, customer success or case studies, whatever you want to call it, somewhere on your site, so people can see evidence of the work that you've done.
Excellent. I love it. And also too, Anthony, could you just say, what if, because I know, I knew it. Hold on one second. I'm reading this. But what if I'm just starting out and I don't have any case studies? I don't have clients. What do I do now? Yep. I knew that was coming up. Okay.
Well, that's the first thing you need to do. Go to free and say, hey, I'm willing to offer you this service and help you solve this problem, right? In exchange for you being a case study. Okay. So you can either, you need the proof, you need the trust, right? It's very hard to sell something if you have no proof that it works, right? So, take the hits, literally you have to do that work. And that's how I started this business. I literally went to 3 people and said, okay, and actually the way I made it at the beginning was I made it like $100 for the case study, right? So you can put a charge on it because you have expertise, right? But you can also test it without charging for it. Because at the end of the day, if you know that those 3 case studies means that you can then sell the service or the product and generate revenue from it, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. Perfect. In the chat, please let us know if you have any questions as we're finishing up. Anthony, you already have fans in the chat. I didn't even know so many people, people coming out of the woodworks for you. That's wonderful. It's
all
great.
over the world.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I really think this is one of those like ninja moves where you have an unfair advantage when you start using case studies like this. When you have something like this in your business, it's that secret sauce. It's that thing that a lot of people, correct me if I'm wrong, case studies that I normally hear about, when I hear about case studies, I think a lot of people don't associate, it's not sexy, like copywriting sexy, headlines, writing this, writing that. I don't think that case studies are in that same genre, but case studies are so important to get people to move through the funnel, to get them to act. And I just think they're undervalued. So this is really good. I'm dropping
For the
in the
course
chat.
creators,
Mhm.
oh, I was going to say for the course creators, like to sell your course, case study, case study, case study. That's the easiest way to sell your course, right? Like literally on your sales page, here are 3 of our students and what they achieved, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, some people beforehand, I get some questions. Some people, I understand maybe you're shy, you do not want to talk in the chat. That's fine. There's a link also to the Discord channel. We give all the links there as well. We'll have the link to this resource guide. So if you want, go to the Discord channel right now. You can sign up. You can talk to me directly, ask questions there. It doesn't have to be on if you're watching it on YouTube, Periscope, D Live, whatever platform you're on right now. Just let us know. By the way, rest in peace, Periscope. We will only have a couple days left of this experience. But again, thank you so much. So, real quick, where can the good people find you at?
Yeah, best thing to go do is to go to simplecreativemarketing.com/doc. That's DOC, and go grab the free guide, and that's where we can connect.
All right, good times, good times. I love it. Erica's saying real quick, with online events, I just want to set up the event. Should I be doing more for a case study? So she does with online events. I want to set up just the events. Should I be doing more for a case study? What do you think?
So does that mean the role that you have, Erica, is the event organizer or the event host when you say set up the event?
I think it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, Erica, she does a lot with Hey Summit and other platforms like that. I believe before the event, she sets up everything, all of the,
yeah. So talk to three businesses that you worked with where you've actually done that for them already. Okay, and get them to share their experience of working with you. Okay, and really articulate the challenges that people have organizing events using Hey Summit.
Yeah.
I've been through that journey. I know it took me 4 months to run my own summit and a team of 4 people. So, if you can take that pain away from me, right, tell me about it.
You hear that? Look at that, Erica. Look, you've got someone right here. You already know, Anthony. Like, you need get it done. Get it done. That's a really good point. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, and we've been saying this for a couple weeks, but honestly, we are going to try this probably next week. We're going to try to do a call-in show, like a radio show. If you're in the Discord, we're actually going to be pulling in audio and everything. So we'll see. It's going to be a mixture of like, what is it? Loveline? We'll see what happens. We're going to see. But if you're in the Discord, a lot of people have been asking, can we do a call-in show? That's what we're going to try to do. Erica says, thank you so much for that. And again, thank you all for being here. Listen, you took time out of your day, depends on which side of the world you are right now. You have done a great job. Keep us posted. And by the way, remember, we're doing this show so you can see how not easy, but with the right steps, it can be a lot more tolerable. You can do it. You have the steps. You have the experts like Anthony that are on the program. Make sure that you go out and execute. So again, you have this on the replay. You already have the Discord channel. Let us know if you have any questions. And again, thank you so much. Nyota saying thank you so much for this. Oh man, look at that. Yeah, Erica did a super chat. I'm going to do sound effects when I get my sound effects back on Friday. So thank you so much for the super chat. You're wonderful, Erica. Thank you so much. And everyone have a wonderful evening. We will see you on the next show next week. Have a wonderful night, everyone.